Hello, everyone, and welcome to a special episode of Strong Style here on its original home on the Outlaw Nation channel. A special episode today to talk about, celebrate, reminisce about the careers of Bray Wyatt and Terry Funk, who we both lost this week. Bray Wyatt at 36 years old, Terry Funk at 79 years old, but two gentlemen who leave a lasting legacy and impact on the business in different ways, but no less powerful. And later on, we'll also be talking about the retirement of Edge from the WWE, But we're going to be focusing a majority of the show on celebrating the life of Bray Wyatt and the lives of Bray Wyatt and Terry Funk. I am the Outlaw John Rocha, joined by these two wonderful gentlemen. We went old school here. First off, my co-host from the beginning, Aaron Turner. How are you feeling, man? How are things with you, my brother?
Still reeling. Tough. It's been a tough week, and today we lost Bob Barker as well. So it's like just punch. But he did host Monday Night Raw once, so we got to count Bob Barker in the family. So
WWE gave him a shout out on X on Twitter. So yeah,
there you go. So yeah, just a tough week.
All right, Chris Burns, great to see you again, brother. It's been a few weeks. How are you feeling? How are things? What's your thoughts here initially, as before we dive too deep into the remembrances of these two wonderful men's careers?
I mean, dude, it's one of those things as you get older, the inevitability of not being able to enjoy certain things in your life, certain people in your life as you get further and further down the road. But how do you ever get ready for it? You know what I mean? There's really never a way to prepare for it, but the best we can do is what we're doing today, and that's remembering.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, these are Terry Funk has been a name I've known for decades, being around and knowing about professional wrestling. Watching old school championship wrestling there on TBS and from Georgia, from down and seeing the footage sometimes from the stuff down in Texas, knowing about Dory Funk Jr. And then Bray Wyatt is someone I got to know obviously recently here in the WWE, but before I knew that he was Mike Rotunda's son, who had been someone I had followed, and Blackjack Mulligan was just about finishing up when I started to become a fan of professional wrestling. And so I was with Mike Rotunda through the whole thing and his run in WWF, what was WWF then, when he became IRS by the end, and is pretty much known as IRS now. Whenever he shows up, he doesn't wear the college workout stuff, or he doesn't wear the stuff he wore when he was tag teaming there back in the old days with Barry Windham, who is, of course, his best friend, and Barry Windham being the brother of the sister that Mike Rotunda, that Mike Rotunda married, that brought about a Windham, Bray Wyatt Windham here, who we have. So it's just an interesting world. And I was reading a fantastic breakdown about an upcoming book on the Windhams in the Ringer. And they spoke about how when Windham Rotunda was born, Mike Rotunda didn't even get to the hospital in time before he was born, but the next day he wrestles Dory Funk Jr. So it's kind of crazy how these lives are connected in this way, as we lose Dory Funk Jr.'s brother this week in Terry Funk, and then lose Mike Rotunda's son, just too young of an age at 36 years old. From what we understand, complications of a heart attack from COVID. And that is just a terrible, terrible thing to hear. And that comes from Fightful Wrestling releasing, I think Sean released that. I guess, Aaron, please take it away. And let's go through this man's life. And if any of you who are watching want to send in Streamlabs and SuperChats, those are open like old school. You see it above Aaron's head, but we will also be picking stuff out of the chat, some of y'all's memories and whatever to put up on the screen to discuss as we go along through the show. And we thank you very much for joining us here on the Outlaw Nation channel to have this conversation on Strong Style. Aaron, please take it away.
As I said before we hit air, feels very strange to kind of wrap these dudes' careers up in a couple paragraphs, but that's what I tried to do here. So we're going to start with Terry Funk. We'll start with his accolades, run down some of his real big highlights here. I don't have a lot of the Deathmatch Japan stuff because I didn't watch it, so it's
plus you hate death matches. Tell the truth. Tell you.
Well, I will tell the truth there, but for the Funker, I will let it slide.
Right.
So just run through some highlights and stuff like that. But his accolades: former NWA Florida Heavyweight Champion, Florida Tag Team Champion with his brother Dory Funk, Florida TV Champion, one-time NWA World's Heavyweight Champion. Talk about that in a second. NWA United States Heavyweight Champion, PWI Wrestler of the Year in 1976.
Wow.
PWI Feud of the Year with Ric Flair in 1989. Of course, he was ushered in the era of Extreme as the ECW Heavyweight Champion, winning on their inaugural pay-per-view. ECW Television Champion, WWE Tag Team Champion with his good buddy Mick Foley. Inducted in the WWE Hall of Fame in 2009 with his brother Dory Funk. And John, I'm sure you knew about this long before I did, but he's well known for his acting roles in films such as Over the Top, Roadhouse, and did some stunt work on Rambo 3.
Yes.
And is still good friends with Sylvester Stallone to this day. Sylvester Stallone wrote a really nice thing about Terry Funk. So good to see that coming through. Now we'll hit some of the highlights here. Terry Funk defeated Jack Briscoe December 10th, 1975 to win his one and only NWA World's Heavyweight Championship with an inside cradle. I say that because back in the day, Shawn Michaels talked about Kerry Von Erich beating Ric Flair for the NWA World's Heavyweight Championship with a backslide. And it's just so weird that those were finishes back in the day. But anywho, Wrestle War 89 was something that John and I were talking about before we went on there. Ric Flair had just defeated Ricky Steamboat, and Terry Funk was one of the judges at ringside. Then Funk took exception to Flair being kind of a prick and beat the hell out of him. And Ric Flair was a heel at the time, and it ended with Terry Funk pile driving Ric Flair on a table, which would later become one of his most trademark moves that he would use all the time. Funk and Flair would square off at Clash of the Champions 9 in an I Quit match, which was won by Ric Flair. And of course, Terry Funk helped the failing Eastern Championship Wrestling at the time, helped that promotion when they were working with WCW. He wanted to work with younger wrestlers and help them get over. And then once that morphed into Extreme Championship Wrestling with the help of Todd Gordon and Paul Heyman, Terry Funk headlined ECW's very first pay-per-view, Barely Legal, in 1997, winning the World Championship from our friend of the show, Raven. Terry Funk would wrestle one of his many retirement matches in 1997. The guy retired like 20 times against the legend Bret the Hitman Hart in a losing effort, as documented in the film Beyond the Mat. If you haven't seen that in a while, check out Beyond the Mat. Funk would, of course, go on to Japan. He would go all over the world doing the deathmatch thing and just becoming an icon of hardcore wrestling. He would then again move back to the WWE as the chainsaw-wielding maniac Chainsaw Charlie. And Funk and one of his best friends, Mick Foley, as Cactus Jack, would win the WWE Tag Team titles for the New Age Outlaws at WrestleMania 14. Funk would continue to make appearances across various promotions over the years until passing. Just the stuff in ECW, the three-way with Sabu and Shane Douglas and the stuff that he would do. Terry Funk was a madman, and that's what Mick Foley would say. Of course, when Mick Foley took that horrific fall at King of the Ring off the Hell in a Cell, who was the first guy there to check on him? Terry Funk. So just a lot of good stuff, and I thought that if you watched SmackDown last night, I thought Cody Rhodes did a fucking excellent job. Talking about Terry Funk being like an actual cowboy. So, just it of all things, Terry Funk had a best-selling record in Japan. Whatever, but that's accomplished singer, world champion, legendary feuds with Ric Flair, Dusty Rhodes, the Dusty Sucks Eggs shirt, legendary. Called him an egg-sucking dog. Like, just Terry Funk, man, one of a kind, and a guy that you literally could not kill. You could not kill Terry Funk.
Yeah. He wrote an autobiography in 2005 called Terry Funk More Than Just Hardcore, where he talked about his many years in the world of professional wrestling. And one of his quotes I love, he says, "When I grew up, I was fortunate enough to live the wrestler's life, a life that gave me stories to tell, just like the ones I had heard as a boy. Pirates, millionaires, kings, and adventurers have nothing on me. I would trade my life with no one." And Chris, I'm sure through your connections and your knowledge, you knew Terry was, kind of suffering through a lot of health issues over the last few years. And this is more, at 79, more kind of like an end of the pain, although we are sad to see him go for sure. But what an incredible legacy, numerous decades, winning belts into his 50s, for God's sakes, from well-regarded organizations. He wasn't down in like some rinky-dink promotion winning. He was in WWE winning belts in his 50s and WCW. Crazy. So what are your thoughts when you think about Terry Funk? What are your memories? What comes to you? And please take as much time as you need, man.
I mean, there are a few wrestling personalities left that you could call ubiquitous.
Oh, damn.
And the Funker,
Word.
hey, come on,
That's a great
1400 on the old SATs, guys. But dude, I mean, from any era of my fandom, which has gone on over 30 years at this point, I mean, Terry Funk, huge deal. You know what I'm saying? Like, of all the accolades we just mentioned and talked about, Terry Funk had his last match in 2017.
Yeah, right. Yes.
So it's not as though he wasn't a part of the current era as well as the nostalgic era. To your point, he talked about he retired several times in several decades in several different eras. And I mean, how is ultimately the question.
Yeah.
How does someone go from the territories era, being a former NWA World Heavyweight Champion, to being, in the WWF, to the WWF, to World Championship Wrestling, to ECW, involved in that famous King of the Ring match, as you brought up earlier, later appearances in TNA wrestling. And I mean, it's actually shocking that there's no AEW Terry Funk to pull from. It's actually shocking that never happened. It just didn't start, I guess, early enough. You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly.
We'll get into, I'm sure, memories and matches and moments and all that stuff. But I think what sticks with me about Terry is I think I would misquote Piper with this, but I believe that it's actually Terry Funk who said, no matter what happens in pro wrestling, you may think it's fake, you may not believe, but you're going to believe in me. And all of this may not be real. You're going to think I'm real. You know what I mean? And to watch any Terry Funk match is to 100% buy into that sentiment. Like, Superman is, Richard Donner Superman is, you'll believe a man can fly. You'll believe this cowboy is out of his fucking mind. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Like, that is the legacy of the Funker from day one. You know what I mean? And just, I mean, Lord have mercy. I remember watching Barely Legal and saying to myself, wait, Terry Funk is wrestling for a world title? You know what I mean? Like a world title. Okay. Because, I'm a West Coast guy. I didn't have access to the public access channels that showed ECW on the East Coast. Yeah, and so once they started showing those Barely Legal vignettes on Monday Night Raw, and it talked about Raven versus Terry Funk for the World Heavyweight Championship, that's what got me into ECW. I started combing the internet for anything I could find about it and reading results and blah, 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 blah. And yeah, I'm dumbfounded by what the man was able to do. You know what I mean? And for so long and with such gravitas and believability. And I mean, the whole business is based on selling it, right? Is there anyone who sold it better than Terry Funk? Even to the end, just not wanting people to see him in the state that he was in.
Right. Yes.
Taking away his own visibility.
Yeah.
Because that wasn't part of who Terry Funk was.
Right.
And I don't think very many people ever got to see the man behind the cowboy from Truth or Consequences, New Mexico. You know what I'm saying? So that level of commitment, that level of longevity, that level of, like I said, gravitas, that's what I think about with Terry Funk.
Yeah, I mean, I echo both y'all's sentiments. As I'm slightly older than both of you, maybe a little more than slightly at times, but like for me, it was, as you said, he is like the Bobby Hull of pro wrestling. Remember, Bobby wanted to play in every decade until he died.
You're dating yourself again.
Yeah, well, that's fine, but like, and this is the way Terry Funk was. I mean, he wrestled just about almost in every decade. If he had hung out just a little bit longer, as you said, Chris, in the AEWs, he'd have gotten into the 2020s, which would have been insane, and delivered incredible matches. And there's a thing. I spent about an hour listening to Cornette's podcast talking about Terry Funk from this week. If you guys haven't listened to that, it's an hour and a half. I can vouch for the first hour. It's fantastic. Listen to Cornette talk about it. But he said that the guy was just a natural, and from the beginning, he was a star. Like, he wasn't a guy they had to work in and take some. He was a star, and he had it, and they knew it. And that, I think, speaks volumes to why he was able to go into multiple federations and become a superstar in a different way in each federation. I think that speaks volumes to his abilities. He understood what that promotion needed, and he became the Terry Funk that promotion needed in order to get himself over and get the promotion over and get the other wrestlers he was wrestling with over. You never heard any kind of comments about Terry not wanting to put someone over or hating helping out a younger wrestler. There was none of that shit around Terry. And Terry was one of these guys, just did it over and over again and had fun, wrestled anybody, was always there to take the bumps, take the bruises, bleed all over the country and the world. In Japan, in All Japan Wrestling, he did that as well. I mean, he bled all over the world trying to put on good matches and entertain people. And I think another thing about it is, how the hell did he do this for so many decades and not suffer serious injuries or not retire early or not? I mean, The Rock was only 6 years in the WWE, people. Compare that, 6 years in the WWE to how many decades Terry Funk has been doing it as a pro wrestler and was able to take the most insane bumps as an older man. Let me tell you something. When you cross 50, hitting the floor is not the same as when you're hitting the floor when you're 20. I swear to God, it's kind of crazy. So to see him getting himself thrown into steel or tables or getting flames around his face or barbed wire, all the glasses, it's madness what he endured just to entertain fans. And he loved it. He loved it. And that radiated off of him. And I think that spoke to generations and generations and generations of those blue collar fans that are the foundation of pro wrestling. That's what he spoke to in the way that he was. Look, he outlasted his brother. I would argue he's the most famous Funk ever. And so that kind of speaks volumes to how great he was as a pro wrestler. And I rewatched the I Quit match from Night of Champions with him and Ric Flair, and I marked out all over that match. And I don't know if I've ever saw that match, or if I did, I was 11 years old when it came out and I watched it. And it's crazy to see it now and see that it still works. It's still a fantastic. But by the way, Terry Funk had abs. Terry Funk was in good shape, for God's sakes.
Yeah,
he wasn't like Harley Race with that extra gut there. He wrestled in fantastic shape all the way through and kept that shape. So that tells you the man was committed to pro wrestling and made the decisions to keep his body in a certain shape to be able to do it so that he can entertain the fans. And so, 79, thank you for your service, for God's sakes. Aaron, you want to?
Dog's going crazy. I was actually reading a story today about Terry Funk being instrumental in getting Hulk Hogan to the WWF and kind of brokering that deal. And of course, he and Hogan had a thing before he went off and did as many things. Yeah. And I came across this quote also from Jerry the King Lawler. This was this is years ago, before all this was going down. And he said that he's like, I've been in the ring with Ric Flair, with everybody across the board, across all the entire United States. He goes, I'm telling you right now, Terry Funk is the absolute best wrestler of all time. Hands down, bar none. Wow. That's coming from Jerry Lawler, one of the best ever. So for him to say that, I think is a big testament. I remember it's on the network, but I think it's edited to shit. But the Rise and Fall of ECW, if you have the DVD, but like Paul Heyman talks about it. He said that when they brought Terry Funk in, Terry Funk went to the locker room and he was kind of like looking around. He goes, "Oh, let me do something with this guy. And he goes, oh, let me do something with that guy too. He goes, oh, I can make him too. And he'd point at like Raven or Sabu or Taz, and he'd be like, okay, let me do something with these guys. I can make them. And I think, and I'm going to bury them right now, but I'm going to praise them in a second. Terry Funk is what Chris Jericho thinks he is. Like, Terry Funk is selfless in his career.
Very true. Yeah.
He will make anybody. It doesn't matter. He will help them. He will make them. You listen to Terry Funk. I think that's what Jericho thinks he's doing, but it's really not. But I'm going to praise Jericho in a second. But anywho, I'll always remember Terry Funk is that guy that's like, I don't know what he's going to do next. And, you know, you alluded to me not liking the deathmatch stuff, and you're correct. I don't. Yeah. But the difference between modern day deathmatch with like Nick Gage and stuff like that and Terry Funk is that you believe Terry Funk would really do that shit. Like, just like, I don't know what this guy's going to do. He pulls out a branding iron and he's going to brand. He might do it. I don't know. Like, the deathmatch guys ain't got nothing on Terry Funk, Mick Foley, Onita. They got nothing on those guys anymore. So, Terry Funk, one of a kind, one in a million. It is kind of funny to go back and watch his NWA title win because he wins with a small cradle and it takes like 15 seconds to get to the count of 3. But it's kind of funny to watch in retrospect. But yeah, man, one of those guys you could kind of, there's utility players you can plug in any era. It's like, man, we need a good match. Get me Terry Funk. And he would go have a great match. And I think it says a lot that he had a small, they talk about it Beyond the Mat, like a retirement show, very small out in like a metal barn in Amarillo, that he got Bret the Hitman Hart to come do an indie show just to wrestle him. And Bret Hart was like elated to be there. He's like, I'd do anything for Terry Funk. Like, and Bret talks about it. He talked about like how great, you know, Terry was such a giver is what he would say. So yeah. Just, we're going to talk about these two guys, and there's nothing bad you'll ever hear about these guys. Not a fucking thing. And that's very hard in the wrestling business.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, you're right. It's a rarity in pro wrestling. And I think, Aaron, you make an excellent point here. Because CM Punk you can throw in the same pile with Jericho. Because CM Punk came, you know, to AEW and was like, I'm going to help this guy. And I'm like, there's so many great people, blah, blah, blah. But, you know, it radiates of a little self-promotion. Jericho, it radiates of a little bit of self-promotion. It doesn't radiate that with Terry. And that's the thing that I think is the difference. With Terry Funk, it doesn't feel like he was trying to do it to put himself over. He was trying to do it to help these people get over and have great programs. And he knew who he could work with and challenge himself. It was about him. Even the death matches. Death matches now are about the people participating in them because they want to show you what they can take. Whereas Terry did death matches to entertain the audience and told stories, emotional stories in those death matches. It wasn't like, you know, let me get 40 rods of lighting thing hit on my face. It was a matter of like, when's the right time for me to pull something out? When's the right time for because I was watching also the 5 minutes of that match there where he had the match with Cactus Jack against Public Enemy and they threw the chairs in the ring. That is, I mean, be there for the King of the Ring situation where he throws Foley or Undertaker throws Foley off, and then to be there at ECW for that moment, which is one of the most iconic moments in ECW. And he just simply asked for a chair, and the audience, out of respect and organically, started throwing chairs in the ring. It's madness. For those of you who may not have seen that, these are the kinds of things you got from a professional who rolled with whatever was happening. Nobody thought people were going to throw damn chairs to stack up Public Enemy. They're screaming, telling people to stop throwing chairs. But Terry plays with what the audience wanted because he loved doing it for the audience. And I think that separates him from a lot of wrestlers whose egos kind of get in the way, you know, for whatever reason. What do you think about all this, Chris? What are your thoughts as you listen to Aaron and I going back and forth about it the last few minutes?
I mean, just so many different stories are flooding, you know, to my mind. You know, I mean, the fact that you forget he takes bumps in the Mankind Undertaker ring match. He gets chokeslammed. He gets chokeslammed literally out of his shoes.
Out of his shoes,
because he's buying time for Mick Foley to recover. You know what I mean? Like, he wasn't supposed to be involved in the damn match.
Yeah.
And oh my God, it is And then the story of how he was going to be one of the knights for Jerry Lawler in that match against was it Bret Hart and his brothers?
Yeah.
And then he calls Vince same day, and he's just like, "Oh, I can't. My horse is sick." It's like people have like used as the worst excuse to miss a pro wrestling match of all time. To this day, not certain if it was bullshit or not. Oh, I just man, just fucking love the guy. You know what I mean? Just absolutely love the guy. And what I kept thinking about while you guys were talking was so many people who have been regarded as legendary in the business.
Yeah.
Won a shit ton of matches,
Mhm.
right? Most of Terry Funk's most legendary situations is him going out on his back in each one of those matches. And in a business where people are so protective of their spot, so protective of their heat, so protective of their whatever, you know, one of the guys closest to me, Piper, you know, hardly let anyone beat him ever. You know what I mean?
Right.
And Funk, never a problem to take the loss, do the job, and never lost a bit of his legendary. His legend only grew as time went on. That is, again, how do you achieve that? How do you can't plan it that way, but I think what we're all talking about here is adaptation, you know, evolution, growth, and there's no one who's done it quite like Terry Funk, remaining relevant from the beginning all the way to now. And I mean, it's insane. It's insane. It definitely makes me recontextualize when you really look at it all, his place in, you know, the pantheon of the greatest of all time.
Yeah, you know, Aaron, he pioneered, you know, or maybe brought into the mainstream hardcore style of professional wrestling with his matches with Flair. So, if nothing else, an element of the business is you owe its creation or its acceptance to Terry Funk Jr. He wrestled in the King of the Deathmatch tournament in Japan, did all of that as well. And he wasn't a transitional champion. When he won the NWA title, he held it for a year. So he wasn't one of these guys that just gave a title to and then gave it right back to the champion. He held it for a year to show what he could do, to show he could carry the company, be the face of the company, and do all that. And that's a prestigious title, the NWA title. And this wasn't like right at the beginning. This is the mid 70s, right in the heyday of NWA. So it's just like incredible to see that in what he was able to do. And here's another example of him. Of course, his acting in Roadhouse and in Over the Top. And by the way, he's smacking Stallone. It looks like you could kick Stallone's ass in Over the Top. Like, that's not fake when you want, like, you could tell the energy of the guy. But then he was also willing to do stunt work in Rambo 3 and Rocky 5. So he didn't even need lines. He was willing to come and work with Stallone and do stunt work. So that tells you of the, like, the, not that he didn't believe in himself, but the small ego approach that he had about it. To him, it was just fun to do work and get paid and do whatever. And so not a lot of people are willing to do that. And I mean, I think those are the people that, if they're talented, other people want to elevate them into positions to win belts or to have great feuds so they can get the love from the fans that those people feel for them when they put them in those positions, you know?
And let's not forget that, you know, despite all the hardcore and all that kind of stuff, tag team specialist.
Yes, right.
He was known as a tag team specialist. Like him and Dory, all over the world, they held those the Florida Championship tag titles forever. Yeah. You know, the Funks were, before Terry broke off, were, you know, one of those legendary tag teams. Yeah. And Paul Heyman also said something else. This is, in his retirement, they took up a collection to buy him like a legitimate ECW, like, you know, world title. I don't know why Paul Heyman could give him one, but anyway. So they took up a collection, and Paul Heyman named him the forever ECW heavyweight champion.
Wow.
And I just think that's just a massive honor. And like you said, Chris, like, if AEW had started 2 years earlier, Terry Funk would have been at All In or Double or Nothing. He would have been in that Battle Royal. Yeah. Him and Darby Allin be doing some crazy shit like that. That's the first guy I think of when I'm like, man, I wonder who Terry Funk would work with and it's a guy like Darby Allin, and he wouldn't have any fucking problem making Darby Allin either.
Oh my God, him and Darby would be incredible. Oh my God, wow. Let's hit some of these. Oh, go ahead. Sorry, does anybody else want to say
just
something?
one of a kind?
Go ahead,
Absolutely one of a kind.
Yeah. Let's hit some of these super chats that have come through here real quick. JMB said, "Good to see Aaron again, and Rocha and Chris too, of course. Wish it was under better circumstances, but R.I.P. to Terry Funk and Bray Wyatt." Absolutely, JMB. Thank you. And you have Aaron to thank for this, because Aaron texted both of us and was like, "Guys, should we get the band back together to have a conversation about Bray Wyatt and Terry?" And we were like, "Yeah, hell yeah, let's make it happen." So, and Josh Mabry in here said, Josh Mabry says, "We need a Snyder cut version of a Terry Funk doc to show these wrestling is fake people the truth. Great to see you all again." Oh, interesting. What do you guys think about that?
I mean, I can't wait. You know what I mean? It's coming. It's got to be coming at some point, because there's not like a. That's so interesting to me, because now I'm thinking about it, like, for as much shit as Terry put himself through in pro wrestling, I don't know if you can call his story tragic in any way. You know what I'm saying? It's like, you talk about doing it my way.
Yeah.
You talk about doing it under your own terms. I mean, because okay, let's put it like this. Like, we all watched Ric Flair's last match, right?
Yeah.
We've seen some modern Jerry Lawler matches.
Right.
We've seen some Rock and Roll Express matches in the last couple of years. In Terry's later years, he's doing moonsaults. You know what I'm saying? Moonsaults and crashing through things. And I mean, so it's not like, it's really truly not. It's always sad when you lose somebody, but it really is like, remembering him is all celebratory, because he definitely went out doing exactly what he wanted to do. And that's just, it's poetic, it's beautiful. And if somebody can capture that magic in the right documentary, I'm all in. I'm all in. Take my money right now.
Well, this is the weekend of All In, so you are all in. Aaron, your thoughts in response to this Terry Funk talk?
Just don't put him on Young Rock. That's all I can.
Oh,
or did that get canceled? I don't know, but Beyond the Mat, I think, is as close as we've gotten. Like, it follows Terry for a good bit of time, but that documentary has issues, but not with Terry, not the Terry parts, but yeah, I mean, like again, one of a kind. Never be another guy like that that's just going to do. I'll do whatever I can to work it out for you. Everybody's so ego driven. Terry Funk didn't have an ego.
Yeah,
he said, "What can we do? Let's have some fun. Let's make some money, and let's take it home."
Yeah,
and that's what he did. And he did what he loved. He loved his wife. When his wife passed away, that was a really hard time for him, and I don't think he was ever the same after that. But he's not one of these guys you hear about, "Oh, Terry Funk was out on the road smoking crack and getting into hotels with hookers." No, never. He went home to his wife every night. That was Terry Funk.
Not tonight, Rick. I can't. Thanks, though.
Yeah, not tonight.
Appreciate it, but not tonight. Main Event says, "I highly recommend Terry Funk versus Jerry Lawler in the empty arena match. Awesomeness." Oh, I never heard of that match. I got to watch that match.
Memphis, man.
Oh yeah, that's one of the ones that wasn't on the list of great feuds. His Jerry Lawler feuds are absolutely legendary.
Yeah. Christopher Steichler, they're saying Dusty Rhodes and Terry Funk had one of the bloodiest feuds in the NWA. You kind of alluded to it, Aaron, with that T-shirt that you were mentioning. But yeah, these two going at it, Dusty and Terry, because Terry could be a phenomenal heel and a great baby face as well at the same time.
Yeah. True cowboy.
Yeah. Oh, so just great stuff. And someone was saying, here we go. Jeremy Miller says, "I've always considered Bret Hart.
I think he said Hart. Yeah,
Bret Hart the best, but Terry is in my top 5 through 10. And I think someone else posted that it was Terry Funk's idea to have Mick Foley start on the top of the cage for that King of the Ring match against Undertaker. So kind of crazy.
Bet Mick Foley really thanked him for that one. Jesus.
Hey, that made Foley. That match. So in some messed up way, Maybe you should thank him, for God's sakes. Yes Boy says, I was around to see a lot of Terry Funk. Respect, but now I can tell that Terry Funk was a lot of our favorite wrestlers' favorite wrestler. Oh, that's a great point.
For sure.
Yeah, you saw a lot of people tweet about him in such positive ways on social media.
For sure. I mean, and you know what? It's already hard to teach someone the pro wrestling business to do it the right way. And there's so many. I'm sure we could Google the graduates of the Funkin' Dojo to say the list of names who are alumni of that school. But think about guys like John Moxley. Think about guys like Tommy Dreamer, right?
Yeah.
Who learned how to not only be a pro wrestler, but be the heart and soul of their respective promotion.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And really build a connection with the people. And both of those guys that I mentioned will, without question, say their favorite is Terry Funk.
Yeah.
100%. And again, I'm in awe of this man. How do you teach that to people? How? But he did it.
Guys like that are just natural, man. They're just natural. They come into a certain situation and they're just natural. They sense it and they know it. Orlando Orego says, R.I.P. to Terry Funk. I only saw his match on ECW One Night Stand 2006. Great match with him and Tommy versus Edge and Foley. Yeah. I haven't seen that match in a long, long time.
Great stuff. I feel like Terry Funk is like, it's gonna be a weird cross reference, but I feel like he's like Tony Gwynn. Like Tony Gwynn was excellent baseball player, million hits, but he was always super unique, humble guy.
Yeah. And
like I remember it was John Smoltz was saying that, like, I'm getting really in the weeds here, guys. I'm sorry, but like
who's dating himself now? Go ahead. Yeah. Go ahead.
Well, I love the Braves, but John Smoltz said that between him, Tom Glavine, Greg Maddux, and I think Pedro Martinez, all four of those Hall of Fame pitchers, Tony Gwynn only struck out 3 times combined to all of them.
Wow.
And it's just like, it's a 1 in a million guy that you've never heard a bad thing about. And then Terry Funk, same way.
Yeah, for sure. One last Streamlab. We'll go to a break here and move on to talk about Bray Wyatt. Justin Tony says, hey, guys, glad you decided to do a show paying tribute to Funk and Bray. I also highly recommend people check out Terry Funk versus Ric Flair I Quit match at Clash of Champions 9 from 1989. Love that match. Bray's creative genius will be missed. Yeah, I certainly referenced that match. Justin, I echo your thoughts as well. I mean, just seeing the end of that match and all these wrestlers, one of them just retired and one of them is still doing it, who come in at the end of that match to have a great throwdown there after the match is over, which is pretty fantastic, and sent me down a wormhole for Gary Hart, which I had not thought about in years, and was exploring his career and how much he was a part of Eastern Championship Wrestling and helped keep that afloat during its glory years. So, a good tie there with him and Terry Funk. Yeah. Are there any documentaries for Terry Funk other than Beyond the Mat, as you mentioned, as a part of that documentary there, Chris or Aaron? I don't think I know of any.
Not that I know of it. I know there's little mini docs all over the place. And there's an Attitude Era doc that talks at length about the Chainsaw Charlie character, who somehow we have not really delved into. And
I don't. Do we? We have to. But if you want to, I feel like maybe push that one.
Well, speaking like when you talked about Cornette earlier, that was something that he talked about this on a previous show. He's like, you remember the AEW thing where Leatherface came out and it was a giant fiasco, and it was revealed that Tony Khan was Leatherface, and the chainsaw was obviously fake. And Jim Cornette was like, remember Chainsaw Charlie in the WWE? Because that wasn't fake. That was not a fake chainsaw.
No, it's not a fake chainsaw.
He's like, why it wasn't a fake chainsaw? Because Terry Funk knew how to use a chainsaw.
Yeah.
Because he was a real rugged, New Mexico, Texas guy that knew how to use an actual fucking chainsaw. Yeah. Good God. No thanks.
When you watch him appear in that match, you see him cutting the wood with the chainsaw. So that's not fake. That's not fake. So yeah, for sure. All right. I think that's all the Streamlabs and Super Chats that you guys sent in. Thank you very, very much. We're going to take a quick break, and then we're going to jump in to talk about the life of Bray Wyatt and go through the unfortunate passing at such a young age of Bray Wyatt right after this. All right. Aaron Turner, please take it away on Bray Wyatt here.
You guys are gonna have to indulge me because I've had a really hard time with this. So, yeah, like she said, just really hard. We're gonna start with Bray Wyatt, Wyndham Rotunda. Start with his accolades, like we did with Terry Funk. He's a former Florida Championship Wrestling Tag Team Champion with his real life brother Bo Dallas, also his real name Taylor Rotundo. His father, Mike Rotundo, as we talked about earlier, aka IRS, former NWO member John, is Vic Wall Street.
I mean,
he's in there. Sure. His uncles are Barry and Kendall Wyndham. Less said about Kendall, the better. And his grandfather, Black Jack Mulligan, of course, the legendary Blackjacks. Former WWE Tag Team Champion with Randy Orton and Luke Harper. Former WWE Raw Tag Team Champion with Matt Hardy as the leader of Worlds. The WWE Champion, two-time WWE Universal Champion, and had some for a guy that the character was 11 years old. That's how old the Bray Wyatt character is. He had WrestleMania matches with John Cena twice, The Undertaker, Randy Orton twice, as well as a showdown with The Rock. I mean, this guy did a lot in a short period of time. So let's run down here. Bray Wyatt and his brother Bo Dallas would initially tag together in FCW in 2009, winning their tag team championships. Do you have that picture of him and his dad with I'm kind of not looking at the screen here.
I don't know.
He just had it up.
I put this one up here already. Is that the one? Okay, go ahead. Yeah, go ahead.
So that's the tag team champions. It's interesting because Mike Rotundo and Barry Windham were the former Florida Championship Wrestling tag team champions as well. So it's a nice little moment there. I just wanted to mention that. Wyatt was eventually repackaged as Husky Harris and was moved to NXT, where it was kind of a weird game show hybrid. And his pro was Cody Rhodes, which is a nice kind of full circle thing. Harris would join CM Punk's version of the Nexus, but he would soon be booted out from the group and sent back down to FCW. After a short failed stint as the hockey mask-wearing Axel Mulligan, a promo which never made air, but you can still find it, Wyatt would get so close to winning the FCW World title but could never pull it off. Another reinvention saw the actual character of Bray Wyatt, a Max Cady-esque Southern preacher of sorts. Max Cady, of course, Robert De Niro's character from Cape Fear. Debuted on NXT TV July 11th, 2012. Like I said, we're less than, only 11 years into this. Defeating Aiden English. There's a trivia question for you.
I was just going to ask if you guys know who he beat.
Aiden English. Wyatt would add Eric Rowan and Luke Harper to his Wyatt family stable, helping those two win the NXT Tag Team Championships. Wyatt's promo style was getting noticed by company higher-ups and as well as other wrestlers such as Chris Jericho, who made it a point to go down to NXT to work with Bray Wyatt specifically.
Wow.
It was very instrumental in his early career. Nearly a year later, on July 8th, 2013, the Wyatt family would arrive on Monday Night Raw, attacking Hall of Famer Kane. Wyatt would go on to defeat Kane and go on to bigger feuds with the likes of Daniel Bryan and The Shield, some legendary matches between the Wyatt family and The Shield. Wyatt's biggest match to date was in a losing effort to John Cena at WrestleMania 30. Wyatt would see defeat again at WrestleMania 31 to The Undertaker. Bray Wyatt and the Wyatt family would attempt to attack The Rock at WrestleMania 32, but The Rock would end up beating up Eric Rowan, and that was kind of the end of it. Bray Wyatt's biggest accomplishment yet was in 2017 at the Elimination Chamber, winning his first WWE Championship, outlasting everybody and finishing off AJ Styles to win that honor. He would quickly lose the title to Randy Orton at WrestleMania 33. After taking some time to tag with Matt Hardy as the co-leader of Worlds, Bray would be on his own again. And on the April 22nd, 2019 episode of Monday Night Raw, Bray Wyatt would debut the Firefly Funhouse as some sort of weird, demented Mr. Rogers. At SummerSlam 2019, Wyatt would debut his newest side, The Fiend, sort of demon clown, wearing a mask created by horror icon and special effects guru Tom Savini of Friday the 13th and other fame. The Fiend would find immediate success capturing the WWE Universal title from Seth Rollins at Crown Jewel. Then Wyatt would lose that Universal title in controversial fashion to Bill Goldberg. We don't need to talk about that.
Oh,
When the COVID-19 pandemic altered the original plans for WrestleMania 36, we were introduced to the first ever Firefly Funhouse match where Wyatt avenged his previous loss to John Cena. At SummerSlam 2020, The Fiend would once again capture the Universal Championship, this time from former Wyatt family member Braun Strowman. The Fiend would reappear for one final time in a match against another former foe in Randy Orton at WrestleMania 37 in another losing effort alongside his protege at the time, Alexa Bliss.
yeah.
Bray would be among the biggest round of WWE cuts to date. It would not be seen for close to a year. Wyatt returned to a thunderous ovation of this past year's Extreme Rules in 2022. His first match back was against rising star LA Knight in another controversial Mountain Dew pitch black match. This would serve as Bray Wyatt's final feud. In the build to WrestleMania 39, Bray Wyatt was slated to face Bobby Lashley in a showdown, but due to an undisclosed illness, the match never took place. On the road to recovery, when there was rumors that Bray Wyatt was on the way back, he tragically passed away just a few days ago. So that is the highlights of a young career gone too soon in Bray Wyatt.
Thoughts, Chris? When you think about Bray Wyatt, you think about his lasting impact, and having been in the business since he removed himself from college a year before he was set to graduate. Your thoughts on how on Bray Wyatt when you think about him now and his untimely passing?
Genius. I mean, absolute genius. Some might say a mad genius. Some might say whatever, but no one is going to deny the creativity and passion and innovative nature of Bray Wyatt, Wyndham Rotunda, whatever you want to call him. And I got the privilege to meet him once. He came to the Comedy Store. He was a huge stand-up comedy fan, had idolized the world famous Comedy Store. So they finally had a show in LA. He made his way down there and hung out with us and was just like the sweetest dude. And we just had such a blast with him. And I don't know what everyone's here or watching's, theology is or anything like that. But you hear a lot about, God's plan or the universe's plan or whatever it is. And so it's always, people's destiny to go when they go. But this one feels so unfinished. It just feels like there was so much more he had to offer, so much more to give of himself to the fans, which was what he, much like Terry Funk, what he loved to do. You know what I mean? He loved to do. He loved to entertain. He loved to take us down a rabbit hole, no pun intended. And really, God, he had that quality about him where it's just like a Jake the Snake Roberts, or even again a Terry Funk, where the promos were so engaging. He could talk nonsense. You know what I mean? Like literal utter nonsense where it's like, this is not leading anywhere. You know what I'm saying? Circular talk, not even referencing a feud of any kind or whatever the hell. And you are on the hook the entire 15 or 20 that he's talking. It just didn't matter. And just like the love he had for the business, obviously born into it with his, with his ancestors and his parentage, and just how much love he had for the boys. You know what I mean? Like I remember when Harper passed and how hard that hit him, and really affected his mental health, and how, because just, and that's what everyone talks about. Everyone that I've known from the NXT locker room back when he was there, to the WWE locker room when he was there, all of them are just like, dude, he is just like the best friend you could have. You know what I mean? A Bray Wyatt, having a Bray Wyatt in your corner was just, you know, a blessing for so many people. And you're seeing it with the outpour of people that are paying tribute to the guy, you know?
Yeah.
And just, you know, I hate it. I hate the feeling of regrets because there's so much wasted potential, you know what I mean, that I feel like happened during his run on so many levels. As you're listing the matches that he had, it's like, why couldn't he have just beat John Cena? You know what I mean? At that WrestleMania. Right. Why couldn't he have been the one to break Undertaker's streak? You know, why could it just like there's so many things that we could have gotten, and obviously hindsight 2020 or whatever, but even at the time, you know, we as fans were like, this is his time. This is what should happen. And subjectively, I feel like the WWE dropped the ball a lot, but it never stopped his popularity. It never stopped him from being able to pivot into a new character, into a new storyline, into whatever it was, and remain just as over, just as endeared by the fandom, as evidenced by that Extreme Rules return earlier this year. You know, it's just again, he's another one of those guys with just like amazing quality to, you know, get over in a business where that's the absolute point. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And as time goes on in pro wrestling, the more the supernatural and preternatural things become outdated and silly, he still made it work. You know what I mean? He still absolutely made it work. And we all loved it. So it just sucks, man. It just absolutely sucks. But, you know, a lasting impression for sure, without question.
Yeah, it's tough. It's tough. As Chris, you mentioned earlier, as you get older, you know, you start to see things being taken away, and you start to realize that it is a gift that you get to live to a certain age because other people pass away at untimely ages, and you are just at a loss for that when you hear it. And I think nothing speaks volumes about the impact of a loss than how it crosses lines into other forms of entertainment. Today at the soccer match with Fulham and Arsenal, they played, he's got the whole world in his hands, in England at halftime so the fans could sing along to that song in honor of Bray. ESPN interviewed Kurt Angle to talk about Bray Wyatt. A number of articles in the New York Times and other places wrote these fascinating biographies on Bray Wyatt. So many people came out on social media, not from the world of pro wrestling, to talk about Bray Wyatt. And that speaks volumes to his impact. Although it may not have been so visible as the Cena impact or these other, The Rock or Stone Cold, it certainly feels like he touched a lot of souls. And there were a lot of fans for Bray Wyatt all over the world. And so seeing people's reactions, seeing people being so distraught and moved by his loss. I mean, you know, I'm watching you two guys struggle with your emotions. And I watched a number of people in preparation for the show as they talk. I mean, Big Show was interviewed a few times about it. And Paul White was just like struggling to even speak about it. LA Knight did a wonderful promo in honor of him last night, weaving in his character work, speaking about their feud, and then leaving with an iconic line of his of Bray Wyatt. And I went back and watched some of the old school stuff of Bray Wyatt. You see him working out Bray Wyatt when he comes out the first time against Aiden English. He's talking too quickly. He's not 100% aware of his power yet. And so it's nice to see it right at the beginning. And then as you watch later on, how he knows where to find the silences, how he knows how to live in those moments to let the fans soak in the things that he's doing. These are the things that made him a star. The understanding, the knowledge, the figuring it out as he went along, putting it all together. He was an intelligent guy. The Ringer did a great excerpt of a interview of a book they're working on, I guess, on the Rotunda family and the legacy of pro wrestling and all of that. It's a fascinating read. If you guys haven't read it, it's on the Ringer website right now. But it talks about how Wyndham wasn't the one who turned to pro wrestling first. It was Bo Dallas. It was Taylor. He turned to pro wrestling. He left. He didn't even go to college. He went straight to developmental against his parents' wishes and went straight in. It almost seems from the article that Stephanie, the mom, did not want them to go into pro wrestling. She wanted them to have a stable life, but they found their way to it anyway. And Mike Rotunda talks about how Wyndham was all into the arts in high school. So yes, he was doing pro stuff, sports, football, all of that, but he was also into theater and art and all of this. And their mom says that when they went to go rent films at one of those dollar stores, it was Wyndham who gravitated to the horror films, like the independent horror films. And those are the things that would end up playing such an important part of how he created Bray Wyatt and then later The Fiend. These things that he put together, and everybody speaks about in that article about his creativity, his ingenuity, his genius. And the other side of it is how much of a warm soul he was, how much of a caring guy he was. He leaves behind 4 children, 2 from his previous marriage, 2 from his fiancee JoJo, which is just heartbreaking. And this is a man who now his children will have to reckon with the legacy of this man as Taylor and Wyndham, dealt with the legacy of Mike Rotunda and trying to make it and do what the things that they were doing. And so it's a fascinating story. And to see the progression of Bray Wyatt to where he was, and even with the failures, as you mentioned, Chris, the failures in the booking, the failures putting the belt on him and quickly taking it off of him, not knowing what to do with the Fiend, the absolute debacle of the end of the thing with him and Alexa Bliss, which was horrible. And by the way, Alexa did a wonderful 3-minute a tribute to him on Twitter, if you got, or X, whatever it's called these days. You guys can watch that. It was really very sweet and touching a tribute to him. There was so much of the possibilities of Bray, but in spite of all of that, in spite of the failures, in spite of the wasted potential, in spite of the possibly not all getting there, he still endured. The fans' love for him still endured. And that reaction when he came back is proof positive that they all wanted him to succeed. And there's nothing more amazing than having everybody in your corner, even if there have been failed attempts to get you over fully, to finally establish you fully. That speaks volumes to the kind of work you've done in the ring and outside the ring to get people to be on your side and support you. And there is nothing like the Firefly Funhouse. Nothing has ever come before it. And Mike Rotunda spoke about that Wyndham Bray Wyatt was a massive fan of Pee Wee Herman growing up, who we also just recently lost. And so it's all kind of wrapped up in itself. And to see him have the canvas that he was able to have in the WWE to create what he wanted to create. I know we can focus on the lost potential, but as you get older, the things which you focus on when you've lost someone is the time you did have and the things you did get. And so I want to focus on the stuff he was able to create because that shows the kind of genius that this man had about professional wrestling and about the ability to blur the lines between art and pro wrestling. And nothing speaks to that more than his Firefly Funhouse match with John Cena, which is one of the most legendary matches now. Immediate classic, immediate legendary match that might never be topped, honestly. Aaron, anything more you want to say here about it as Chris and I have spoken about Bray?
I'm a massive fan. And, Christian Harloff and I would go back and forth because he hated Bray Wyatt, that character Bray Wyatt. And I would say, no, you just don't get it. Like, it's good shit, pal. But because I'm big NXT, I'm an NXT diehard, man. And when I saw Bray Wyatt in NXT, I was like, that's a money gimmick. That's a money gimmick.
Yeah.
And he brought it, and it kind of slowly it got there. I think the Shield helped get it there with all that was going on. They beat the Shield, which I don't think a lot of people saw coming. And in retrospect, you look at these guys like Luke Harper, Brody Lee, and you just don't realize how good a guy like that was. Like, you go back and look at his match, like, God damn, he's really good. And then you think of Bray Wyatt. Just, I'll tell you like this: like, Bray Wyatt and I are the same age. We're both big guys. Me bigger than him, but I'm having my own issues with health, and it's scary. It's scary to think a guy like that works out, does what he's supposed to do. Had such a positive light to so many people. And there again, he's a guy that go try to find somebody to say a bad word about this man. They don't exist. To have in this world that is so fucking negative all the time, to have a bright light like that turned off just fucking sucks.
Yeah.
And the creativity that he would show when he busted out that Firefly Funhouse, I was like, this is genius. And a lot of people were like, this is stupid. And then everybody came around. The dude was a merch machine. You couldn't get it. You couldn't get enough Fiend merchandise. You really couldn't. It's to see everything that he became. If you go back and watch that Elimination Chamber 2017, where he wins the title, people are so fucking happy. Like, they're losing their mind. They're so happy that, like, this guy that we wanted for so long finally is the champion like we wanted him to be. And you know, I got to see him at WrestleMania against Orton, and you know, I know it's a gimmick. I know the Firefly thing with the phones is a gimmick, but to be in a stadium with 70,000 people seeing 70,000 cell phone lights when he came out is fucking unbelievable. You don't get that at the Super Bowl. You don't get that at the World Cup. You don't get that anywhere. Like, it's an unbelievable sight. So many people were rooting for this guy. So many people were behind this guy. And then when he left, when he was gone without like our say-so, with like, how dare you, people were livid that Bray Wyatt was like, Bray Wyatt of all people. And when he came back, like, again, go back and watch his return to Extreme Rules. Unbelievable. And the next night on Raw, when he makes the speech, which is now in retrospect very eerie, when he's like, I'm just talking as myself, guys. Like, I've never shown you this side. I'm talking as myself. He's like, I lost. Sorry. He said, I lost part of myself. I lost my way. But you helped me find it. And, you know, we don't know what it was going to be. We don't know what the Uncle Howdy thing was going to be. It doesn't really matter at this point. And I thought that LA Knight, I love LA Knight too, but I thought that he did an amazing job of honoring Bray Wyatt and trying to bridge the gap between what's actually happening and you know, his friend. Because he talked about it, he said, I hooked up with Bray Wyatt. He taught me things. He was getting me ready for bigger things.
Yeah.
And he's like, and I wasn't torn up until I saw the family stuff. Like, tore me up. Yeah. And I think that in a wrestling business, I forget who says it, like, in this business, not that I'm in it, but like in the wrestling business, you have many acquaintances, but very few friends. Bray Wyatt had many friends from, you know, Alexa Bliss did an excellent job. You have The Rock, the biggest star in the world, John Cena, you know, Braun Strowman and Eric Rowan are killing me. It's just, you know, he was a Triple H guy through and through. Triple H was very instrumental in his career. Chris Jericho as well. I know I said I was going to give Chris Jericho his due, and I will, because Chris Jericho saw Bray Wyatt and said, that's a guy that I can work with. That's a guy that needs to be spotlighted. Yeah. So shout out to Chris Jericho for doing that. I wanted to give him his credit for that for sure. Just 36, unbelievable. Just unbelievable. And it feels like this guy made a lifetime in this business out of such a short period of time. And truly, the best was yet to come from him. I really do. What we were going to delve back into this, into his mentality and his personality and stuff. I really think the best was yet to come. This was going to be the best version of Bray Wyatt that we'd ever seen. And we won't get to see that. But what we do have, the sample size that we do have, is the transformation. We have, Smiley Smiley Wyndham Rotunda. We've got Axel Mulligan, the very beginning of a dark Bray Wyatt character.
Yeah.
We got Husky Harris. We can throw that in the trash. And then we've got the beginnings of Bray Wyatt. And then we've got him kind of becoming the cult leader. And he's like, okay, I got to innovate. Let me get with Matt Hardy. We're going to do some weird stuff. And then let me innovate that into the Firefly Funhouse. Let me go into this. Let me go seek out this dude named Tom Savini, the fucking best makeup artist probably of all time.
Yeah.
To make this mask that's going to stand out. And not only is it going to sell a shit ton of merchandise, but it's going to get people talking. Yeah. When the Fiend debuted at SummerSlam against Finn Balor, the crowd is silent because they don't know what to think. They're like, I don't know what this is. Like, I know wrestling is like goo-goo and fake, and we had the Undertaker, a dead man that turned into a biker, but like, what is that?
Yeah.
And I think the fact that you can still wow people in 2022, 2023, or whenever that was with things like that is just a testament to how deep into the character that he was and his commitment to that character. Just, again, a guy that there'll never be another, and there's no one that is like this guy.
Yeah.
No one will be given the reins that this guy was given. He was given a lot of leeway, and I think that he earned the respect of all of his peers, the all-time greats. And a guy, like we said, run down the list: Cena, Orton, The Rock. Like, I thought Alexa Bliss's thing that she talked about Bray Wyatt was unbelievable. Very good stuff. You tell that she genuinely cared for him and his family, and it's tough because he has young kids. He's John, you and I have lost our fathers.
Yeah.
I grew up with my dad I had my dad for 32 years. And it really hurts to know that these kids won't. So,
yeah.
But every time I think of Bray Wyatt, it's just like, God damn, that's a creative sumbitch. Like, that guy could turn it, like, no matter what it was. That guy, he lost to Goldberg, he came back and was even better than ever. So just, I'm really gonna miss Bray Wyatt. I really am.
Sometimes, by the way, very powerful words there, and thank you for that. Sometimes the legends leave us early, and it cements them as legends. I think of people like James Dean or Jim Morrison or Jimi Hendrix. Janis Joplin, people who've left us early. And you got to look at Bray. Bray is in that category now. So seeing the outpouring of love and support for him, it's incredible. And I wanted to bring this up because I want to share the screen real quick to give you just a sample of it. Chris Jericho did a tribute to him while he was there performing for Fozzy, and the crowd started singing, "He's got the whole world in his hands." It just impromptu there with Chris, which was incredible. This broke me last night. The last two remaining members of, the Wyatt family there, really tough to see them experiencing that. And then you see CNN covered the death of Bray Wyatt. This is the Fulham match where they're singing, "He's got the whole world in his hand." But even CNN covered the death of Bray Wyatt. Seth Rollins did a wonderful video for him if you guys want to watch it. Here he is doing the fucking weather, for God's sakes, on a local station there, just look at the energy of this guy. Is such a fun, playful, enjoyable, happy energy. And as you said, and this also, the last appearance on TV of Bray Wyatt was with his brother, Bo Dallas, playing Uncle Howdy, which a lot of people had speculated on but hadn't been revealed. And that's an incredible thing to have that be your last time is there with your brother. And as I mentioned, the big show here, really breaking down and talking about Bray Wyatt. And apparently Braun Strowman and Karrion Kross got tattoos of Bray Wyatt to honor him there on their persons, and the Firefly logo that's there for him as well. And as I said, here's CNN covering the passing of Bray Wyatt. CNN, for fuck's sake, Just incredible stuff overall. And this is, so many people were devastated by the loss of Brody Lee, and now we add someone connected to him in such a powerful way in Bray Wyatt in that. And it's just, it's just a tough, very tough thing to experience and navigate and try to understand. And Chris, please, I want your thoughts as well. And what you said earlier, there's God's plans, but sometimes you really question God's plans and wonder why, and that's a natural thing for human beings to do. We've been talking, Aaron and I here. Chris, please, what do you have to say from what we've been saying and what your thoughts on this are now?
I mean, what more is there? It's I mean, I share it with you, Aaron. It's scary. 36 years old, I may not look it, but I'm 40, and to think that 4 years ago that'd have been it,
Yeah.
It's a tough reminder that you got to hold on to everything that's around you, at least the important things. We're fans of this business, and we get heated about stuff that we don't like, and we get joyful about things that we love. At the end of the day, all these guys and women are people and live real lives. And for as much as we want to critique their work, they go through things just like we do.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And they're still out here trying to entertain us. And so I think it's important to keep that in perspective when we're doing what we do.
Yeah, and I think you hit on something there right at the end. They're out here entertaining us. We don't know what the circumstances are around Bray's passing. We know that it was what they're saying was related to a heart attack from COVID. Was he pushing himself? Was he working out hard? Was he trying to come back so that he could keep entertaining the fans, so he could keep spreading his genius and provide for his family? And maybe one workout too hard, or some things just kind of came together at the wrong time for him, and his life was ended. And so it's just heartbreaking to hear that. And I don't want to get political, but I do want to say it was from the after effects of COVID, is what a lot of people are saying. And so please be careful out there. This is not over. There's a new strain that's out there now that people are getting, and the cases are rising again. The LA, they started doing the mask mandates or in some of the studios again. There's a new vaccine coming out a little bit. So just do your best not to get this thing. Take care of yourself when you get this thing. And as someone who, endured 2 weeks of hell on this thing, you got to listen to your body. You've got to listen to your body. You don't know how this can affect you, and it affects everyone in different ways. So please be careful around COVID. Please, for your own sake, be careful around this kind. If nothing else that you take away from the Bray Wyatt loss is be careful about how you go about with COVID right now. It's still around.
I wanted to add this. I saw this yesterday, and I feel like it's important. Bray Wyatt would talk to fans. I'm not talking hey, how you doing? I'm talking like he would really talk to fans. And his fans shared their DMs with him about this is from 2018. I forget this girl's name. I'm so sorry, but it says, "Bray, I'm in so much pain. The depression is really getting me. It's at an all-time high." And Bray responds. He says, "Don't let them win. Depression is only real if you let it be real. I feel your pain. Let me take it away. You are special and beautiful. You are loved. Nothing is more precious." And then she said, "That means a lot." And he said, "Everything will be okay. Life is a never-ending cycle."
Yes.
It's just the guy cared about people. He didn't have to do that.
Yeah.
it just speaks to his character. And like you said, John, like, you know, Rhea Ripley's had heart issues. Like,
yes.
Bob Harper for The Biggest Loser. I know this is like, I'm throwing it back, but like, that guy is like one of the most in shape people in the world. He had a massive heart attack. Like, sometimes you just never know what's happening. Like, you got to, like, that's what I'm experiencing now. I started working out 2 times a day, and I was, you know, feeling great, losing weight, and all of a sudden my heart felt like it was going to explode. And my doctor's like, pump the fucking brakes, Pat.
Yeah, 2 times a day. Fuck is wrong with you? Once a day is enough.
I was on program, but you know, felt great. Still feel pretty good, even though I'm on very light duty. But you really got to take it easy. You just never know what the fuck is going to happen. So.
It is a marathon and a race at the same time, and that's how you got to look at it. It's a marathon and a race at the same time. You know, take care of yourself in the immediate, but also plan for the future always, because you never know, and it's good to be aware of it. Orlando Orego says, R.I.P. Bray Wyatt. Hearing the stories from people that knew him and how good of a man he is, praying for his family and kids. Still in shock. Yeah, a lot of people are. I can't remember who I was watching yesterday talk about it, and they say they're still processing. And it might have been Paul White who said that. Still processing it. You know? Josh Mabry said, this one really hurts on an Eddie level. Oh, I think that's a great comparison. To me, he is the most creative mind we will ever see. Just like Terry, he could lose every match, but he still had the whole world in his hands. Yeah, 100%, 100%, man.
I don't know if you guys saw, but like Booker and Brad were live.
Yes. Oh my God.
Wow. They were live when the news dropped, and you just see Book and Brad too, but you see Book just like Bray Wyatt, like that Bray Wyatt, and just you just see it all just come right out of Booker's face. Like, because Booker T works with the guys at NXT. He knows those guys. He's been around that locker room for years, the Hall of Famer, and you just know that crushed him. And it's really it's a hard watch. But
for sure. What did you guys think of Cody Rhodes' promo last night? We talked about it. I think we touched on it a little bit, the cowboy stuff, but just the emotion here. And someone pointed out that he is the only wrestler to speak at the Brody Lee after show, and then now with the Bray Wyatt after. That's a heavy burden to carry for also a third generation wrestler in Cody Rhodes for a third generation man like Bray Wyatt.
No better person to put that, to pass that baton to. That's for sure. Someone who gets it, though in a way that none of us could possibly. He's a guy with young kids. He's to your point, third generation wrestler. He the joys and pains of not only the business but life, and the two married to one another. Yeah, that's Cody Rhodes all day. So I thought he handled it great. I thought he did a great job. I wouldn't be me if I didn't say, how do you have a Terry Funk tag team match and there's no hardcore element to it?
Last night.
What a waste.
I was just like, what the hell is going on right now? But with that being said, the Cody promo was fantastic.
Every tribute was great except for that.
Yeah. I don't. When I think hardcore, I'm like Street Profits.
Yeah. Like, no.
I don't know. I Cody, for better, whether you believe it or not, he's the face that runs the place now.
Yeah.
Sorry, it's Cody Rhodes, and I don't know if this made air or I saw something, or because I didn't see it again. Roman gave the belt, the blue Universal title, to Bray's family, or he's going to do that. I feel like I saw that and then it disappeared quickly. Like he either did it during the show. I don't know. Like it wasn't on SmackDown.
Right.
But like I had heard that Roman gave that blue Universal title, which he doesn't really hold it anymore. And that was, Bray Wyatt's blue title. So I heard that they retired it for good for Bray Wyatt. Whether they show it or not, I don't know, because they probably don't want Roman to break character. But So
interesting.
What a tribute. But.
We got one Streamlab that came through from Christine. She said, I've noticed every Arsenal home game they play a WWE theme, so I am glad they played Bray's theme, coincidentally against Tony Khan's own team in Fulham. I am grateful I experienced the Firefly moment live at SummerSlam 2014, thinking of his family and loved ones. That's awesome, Christine, that you experienced that there. Yeah, I don't see anything here about that. Aaron?
Senior Nerd said he did it backstage.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I had heard that they did a thing and he retired it for good, and that it's Bray's. Yeah.
You know, the weirdest tribute I saw was from Vanessa Hudgens. Yes, that Vanessa.
I saw that too. She's just a big fan.
She's just a massive fan of his and his creativity, ingenuity in the world of pro wrestling. And she said she was devastated, and she hasn't nowhere near finished processing his loss. So, you know, that's again, if you're able to cross these lines and touch so many different people in so many different walks of life, it speaks volumes to the work you've done in the world.
There was an arena, and I don't remember where it was, but the WWE wasn't running it. Like, nobody was running the arena, and they just had it on the outside. Like, you know, we are sad to hear the loss of Wyndham Rotunda, and had a big picture of him. I was just like, wow.
It was the All-State Arena. It was the
All-State Arena.
Yep.
So it was just like, wow, unbelievable.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, any final words? Oh, yeah, we should bring up these tweets that you were got here just to give a little. Yeah, John Cena, devastated by the news of the passing of Wyndham Rotunda. My heart goes out to the entire Rotunda family. Wyndham brought the best out of me in so many ways. I'm forever grateful for the moments we shared. A sad day for all those who he reached around the world. R.I.P. And The Rock saying, I'm heartbroken over the news of Bray Wyatt's passing. Always had tremendous respect and love for him and the Rotunda family. Loved his presence, promos, in-ring work, and connection with the WWE universe. Very unique, cool, and rare character, which is hard to create in our crazy world of pro wrestling. Still processing losing the GOAT, Terry Funk, yesterday, and now Bray today. My love, light, strength, and mana to the Rotunda family and Funk family during this tough, heartbreaking time. As always, thank you for the house. Hashtag. So there you go. And there was one more here. Yeah, from Lexi, right? She said, I'm just in shock, extremely heartbroken, and at a loss for words. What I can say is what an amazing human being Wyndham is, an amazing and kind friend. One of the most creative minds to ever walk this earth. Wyndham, you've brought so much joy and happiness to everyone around you. It's going to take me some time to really process this. Sending my love to the Rotunda family, JoJo and their babies. We love you, Wyndham. It's an interesting thing about Alexa. She spoke about him in the present tense in her tribute and then in that tweet. So I wonder if that's like an intentional thing in her mind until she's ready to accept that he's gone, or if this is kind of an approach for her philosophy that no one is ever really gone. But she spoke about him in the present tense, which is interesting. So, all right. Any final words and maybe one final, maybe your favorite memory of Bray Wyatt here as we wrap up our conversation on Bray and take a quick break and then jump into a few minutes of the Edge stuff before we wrap up. Chris, I'll go to you first.
Ooh-wee. There's so many. If I had to choose one, I remember during that first John Cena match, and he had him down, and he grabs John Cena's utterly lifeless body and dances with it. I remember that visual. It said, like, it was such a strong character moment for that version of Bray Wyatt. And that visual is like something I had never seen before. And I don't think we have again. And it was just like, it just spoke to the attention to detail and just how dialed in Bray was to what he was doing. And I loved that. I loved that moment. So good. So good.
Aaron, any final thoughts and your favorite memory of Bray Wyatt?
And John Cena going to do the 5-knuckle shuffle, and then he turns around and Bray Wyatt's doing the spider walk, and he's like, "Oh shit!" I love that. But it's always Elimination Chamber when he wins the title for the first time, because you didn't think that they held my man down so many times, and you didn't think they were going to let it go. You didn't think it was going to happen, and then he beat John Cena, and you're like, "Wait a minute." And then AJ goes for the phenomenal forearm and ends up eating a Sister Abigail. And you're like, wait a minute. And then he wins. And it's just like, everybody's high-fiving. Everybody's like, hell yeah. And it's just, that was a moment where, like, I'm sure that he felt validated in that moment. Like, finally, like, my hard work has paid off, and these people are behind me, and that's the moment. That, and of course, like, the debut of the Fiend at SummerSlam is unreal, like an unreal feeling of eerie and like, what is this? And then just anytime he pops up, he's like Brock Lesnar in that way. Like, anytime he pops up, you're interested. Like, even if it's just like he walked past the camera in the background, you're like, whoa, what's he doing? Like, it's always interesting when Bray Wyatt would pop up. So that's a rare thing as well. But yeah, Elimination Chamber for me is what I will always, first thing will pop in my
mind. Yeah, for me, it'll always be the Firefly Funhouse match. It'll always be that match. As an actor, as a creator, I marveled at the genius of that. The tightrope to make that work was about 500 million miles in the air, and he was able to walk that tightrope so well with Cena, with a great partner in Cena. And there are a lot of great moments. Him punching Bray and it becomes the pig doll. Him quoting Nikki Bella's song back to John. But the number one moment for me of that entire thing is having the genius and having the willing and convincing Cena to walk out in the NWO colors with him in the NWO colors. Something that everyone at SmackDown talked about and called, him turning heel. Like, the fact that they were able to turn that on its head and show people that stuff, I think for me, showed the breadth of trust that someone like Cena had for him and with him when he, as the top dog of the company, did not have to have that trust, did not have to give him that space to do that. But the fact that he loved him so much and trusted him so much to be able to do that, I think, spoke volumes about who Wyndham Rotunda was as a person. And so to me, that entire match, but that particular moment, I was like, man, wow, that speaks volumes as a young wrestler to be able to get the top dog, to be able to be willing to do those kinds of things and trust that you'll get it right, so. All right. Well, there you go. That's our conversation on Bray Wyatt. And for those of you who joined us a little bit later, you can go back to the front of the show. First 30, 40 minutes, we talk about Terry Funk. We're going to take a quick break, and then we'll wrap up by talking about the supposed retirement of one Edge that seems to have gotten a little bit lost in this conversation over the last few days, and rightfully so, because of the reality of passing two great legends here in the world of pro wrestling. But we send our condolences, our love, and our thoughts and our prayers to the Rotunda family, to JoJo and the kids, and to everybody who was affected by the loss and the passing of Wyndham Rotunda. We'll be right back right after this. All right, Aaron. Edge retired. Well, what's the deal here? What's the situation?
So Edge retired, kind of, and then went on in massive speculation. Is he going to show up at All In? Is he going to show up at Wembley? No, he's not. And turns out that Edge's contract isn't up until the end of September. So to kind of quell the flames, Edge went on social media and he's like, listen, guys, there's rumors out there that WWE didn't meet my terms for a new contract. That's not true. I have the renewal on my desk. He's like, I just don't know what I'm going to do. Maybe, Edge isn't a young guy.
Yes.
He's had many a surgery. The guy was gone for 7 years. Has come back in amazing shape and has done some good things. But, time comes for us all. And, Father Time's undefeated and all that kind of stuff. And I just wish that people would just let Edge go without, like, is he going to show up at AEW? Who fucking cares? Like, just let him do his thing. It's Edge. It's Edge, man. Like, he's WWE through and through. For him to show up in AEW would be super weird. And it doesn't do anything. What's it do for Edge? Like, he gets one more match with Christian? Okay, cool. Whoop-de-doo.
But not there.
Like,
it shouldn't be there.
It just doesn't feel right. Yeah. And I thought, in Toronto with the Maple Leafs gear, which was great gear, by the way.
Yeah.
And, it's against Sheamus, whatever. That's whatever. I mean, he can't fight any of his rivals. John Cena's moved on. Randy Orton's like seriously injured. Christian's in another company. So is Jeff Hardy. The Dudleys, half of them don't wrestle anymore. So it's like, I mean, what else can you really do? Yeah. You know, I don't need to tell you guys what Edge has done. I don't need to run through his accolades. Right. Goddamn Hall of Famer. I don't need bona fide Hall of Famer. Is he one of my favorites? No, but that doesn't mean that I don't respect and understand how great Edge is. He's fucking fantastic. Shout out to Sexton Hardcastle. Edge, a guy that was down and out, done, totally done, and came back and just like ripped to the gills, and you're like, holy shit, this guy's going to do it again. And he did. And, you know, the creative is whatever. We'll talk about that with Bray Wyatt. Creative is whatever for him, but I don't think you could ever doubt Edge's ability to do things. And anytime Edge would pop up, people would be happy to see him. So, yeah, whatever he does, whatever he decides, if he wants to live in the mountains of North Carolina and go mountain biking with FTR all the time, as long as you're not driving in a car with Cash Wheeler, you'll be all right.
Jesus.
Wow. Can I just
There's
say,
Aaron. There's Aaron.
Can I just say real quick about that?
Yeah.
He got arrested for doing that in Orlando on I-4. I get it because there are two speeds in Orlando. Two speeds on I-4. Yeah. Stupid fast to the point where it's NASCAR.
Yeah.
Or it's so painfully slow.
Yeah.
That you're going to cause a massive traffic accident. But anywho, long story short, I don't. If that's what Edge wants to do, he's got young kids. He's got a wife that also is a wrestler that is now retired again. And if he wants to live his life drinking tea on the front porch, you know, watching his kids, you know, run around the front yard, so be it. He doesn't owe us shit. I love Edge. You know, have a good life, my man. Whatever you do, we're here for you.
Yeah, Chris, I mean, a little bit of a disappointing comeback after the initial explosion where everyone lost their minds, but arguably the number one return ever. No one saw that coming. There have been no leaks about it or anything, and it happened. But, you know, injuries at the wrong time as well. You know, the Judgment Day situation, that was set to make him and make that faction injuries there. The fight with Randy Orton, injury afterwards. So there was never enough time to get that train rolling with Edge without an injury getting in the way. And maybe now, you know, he's about to be in the Percy Jackson series. Maybe there's a feeling of slowing down here, and maybe even the loss of Bray Wyatt makes him pause in this whole situation. Like, maybe I need to stay home and be with my children a bit more and not be on the road so much. So what are your thoughts about this? Do you think he's retired? Do you think he's going to retire? And what do you see happening for the future with Edge?
Just real quick, I mean, I guess you guys didn't realize that Cash Wheeler was Bullet Club for life, huh? You guys didn't realize that he was
I didn't
with
say
us?
anything. It was him. Don't get mad at me.
Oh boy.
Anyways, as far as Edges goes, I think that he said it himself when he did the rocking chair video where he was just like, guys, the first time I retired, it wasn't up to me. I was forced to.
Yes.
I could not keep going, or it was going to literally threaten my life. Now I'm in a position where it is up to me, and I need time to sit with that. And that's, you know, perfectly fine. What I talked about earlier, these guys aren't just TV personalities. They aren't just pro wrestlers. They aren't just whatever, you know what I mean? They are not just entertainers. There's real life stuff happening away from the cameras, you know what I mean? And not in the way that they showed Randy Orton going to his house. You know what I'm saying? It's like there's real shit afoot in Adam Copeland's life. And has he not earned it? Taken a second? Of course he has. Right. You know, so let him do it. If we see him again, great. And it'll be on his own terms, and he'll continue to entertain. If he wants to hang it up, again, he's earned that right for sure, without question. Anyone who puts their body on the line for, I'm a 49ers fan. I can't remember the guy's name who had a great breakout season with us and hung it up and was just like, I'm not putting my body on the line like that.
Yep.
And
Patrick Willis
has every right to do that. And so it's just like, you know what? He has the right to do that. I respect it, either whatever decision that he makes. I fantasy booked in our group chat how I'd love him to have another match team up with Christian and go one last time with the Hardys so that they could also retire. And then I'd have the Dudleys come and put them all through tables. And that's how I would end that whole thing. And then they could all take the bow together because it would only be right.
Testify.
So Edge has had an amazing career. I will show me someone who said that Edge would be a multi-time world champion, this, that, and the other. Forget when he debuted and was still doing the downward spiral as his finisher. Even during the Edge and Christian days, if you said during that time, oh, yeah, I knew he was going to be, I'll be calling you a liar. And so the man over-delivered, made it happen. Much respect to Edge. And whatever he plans to do, I got nothing but respect for it.
Yeah, 100% agree with you. He's given all that he can to pro wrestling, came back from an incredible injury to do it again, and had some fantastic matches when he wasn't injured, and it was great to see him still be able to do it. And the fans 100% behind him, and his shirts went next level merch wise that I thought were fantastic in their designs. And the look, grizzled, old, wrinkled Edge was a scary look. And I agree. I did not see him becoming a superstar solo at all when he broke out on his own. I'm like, he's too skinny. No one's going to fucking buy it. And now Walter's skinny, but he was still too skinny. And then eventually he kind of found his way and became what he became. And it's incredible what he was able to do. And yes, FM Ghost, Adam Copeland was in Vikings and in Haven. Yes, 42 episodes of Haven, 25 episodes of Viking. Don't come at me, son. I know his fucking resume. So I know he's an actor, but like he wanted to, and I interviewed him years ago on a wrestling show that was my first wrestling show, the Money in the Bank show, with my brother Andre Gordon. Adam Copeland gave us I think 3 hours, and we interviewed him about everything. And I even asked him about Lita at the end. So I was able to ask him about everything. He's a very giving guy to a new show. Andre and I, no one knew us, and we were able to have Adam come on, and he was great. And so I have nothing but love for him. I have nothing but respect for him. To me, it's weird to have a big announcement, retirement, WWE, blah, blah, blah. And then you go, well, actually still under contract, and I might be re-upping. And so to me, it's a weird kind of mixed message. Either you're retired or you're not. And I know it's pro wrestling. There's a lot of fake retirement matches in pro wrestling. Ric Flair is the king of them, of course.
Terry Funk.
Terry Funk, yes. But to me, it just seemed weird to do this again because people were so invested when Edge came back. So if he re-ups with the WWE, what do you do with that ceremony and the big week of promotion and then all those videos that came out afterwards with him and Sheamus hugging each other and having a beer in their sweaty bodies and all of that? It seems to kind of then lose all of its power, and what was the point? So we'll see. But he has 100% earned his right to do whatever the fuck he wants to do, for sure. Yeah.
Correct me if I'm wrong. I feel like I'm remembering this correctly, but
okay.
I'm sure a lot of people think that Edge debuted in the Brood. Not true. Didn't Edge debut as Sable's mystery partner against Mark Marrow and Luna Vachon?
That was the first match. Yeah.
That was the first match.
Holy shit, Edge is old. Old, bro. Sable and Mark Marrow.
Yeah.
And our dearly departed Luna Vachon. Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Wow. What a run. What a
run.
You tell me that guy? That the 5-second pose guy was going to be the multiple which was great, by the way, for those with the benefit of flash photography. Like, just unbelievable stuff. And the stuff that he did with Kurt Angle when he would had the card, like Kurt Angle reading the cards, and it said he's a douche or whatever it would say on it. So good. Just so good.
The Cena stuff was
amazing.
The father's getting involved. I mean, slapping Cena's dad. I mean, it was crazy.
Took it to the next level.
Yeah, absolutely
took it to the next. That's what made him. The John Cena feud made him. John Cena threw him into the Long Island Sound. Threw him into the water.
That's right.
So Edge would do anything. And then the Ultimate Opportunist, he wins the world title at New Year's Revolution.
Yeah,
beat Cena. And I remember I didn't watch the pay-per-view, and somebody's like, "Hey, Edge won the world title." I'm like, "Yeah, whatever." It's like, no, he did, and it made sense.
Yeah,
and he was a great champion. So,
and
can't really say.
great Boatman going from Lita to Beth Phoenix. I don't think anyone would complain about that situation. Getting both of those ladies.
I'm not touching that.
It's a great,
hammer.
They did.
It's a good record.
They
It's a
touched
resume. They did.
It's tough to beat. John Cena's got a good resume too, but it's another story for another time.
Well, sure. That's what happens when you're the face of the company. You do get, extra perks. Zeno Hours and Hot Take Edge has the best wrestling theme song in any era.
I would ask you.
I'll fight you on it, but if it's a banger, it's definitely.
I would ask you which one.
Oh, that's a fair retort.
Because you got Metalingus, which is like the one he uses now and has used for a long time, and then you have Rob Zombie. The Rob Zombie song, "Never Gonna Stop," was his song for a long time, and the Judgment Day song that they all use, was another Edge joint made by Alter Bridge, who sings Metalingus. So they're all good, man. Yeah. They're all good.
I agree with that. Come in, Randy. All right, well, let's get on out of here. Thank you all so much for joining us for this conversation today, the special episode of Strong Style. We are not back. This was just a special episode to give our thoughts and feelings and remembrances and tribute to two amazing wrestlers and two amazing men in Terry Funk and Bray Wyatt, and also talk a little bit about Edge. But we appreciate you all hanging out with us this afternoon. Thanks for the Streamlabs and the SuperChats. Thanks for the lively chat. Chris, thanks so much for taking the time to hang out. Please let people know where they can find you and what you got going on.
For sure. Chris @Chris_please for all the things. Those are the ways to find me. Such weird connection. I just noticed. We lost Bob Barker today.
Yes,
who
99.
was the host of not just The Price is Right, but also Truth or Consequences. Terry Funk being for Truth or Consequences, New Mexico. Odd connection there. For today's show. But I'll sign off the way that Bob did so many times. Have your pets spayed or neutered. Good night, everybody.
Oh, one last showcase for Bob Barker. Aaron Turner, any final words? And where can people find you, brother? And what you got going on?
You can't find me anywhere.
I can't. Don't even look at only Aaron Turner doesn't even exist. I just had to use it for today.
I'm a social media ghost. I am on Facebook. You can find me there, I guess. But it's too much. It's too much for me. Too much negativity. I'm tired of it. But you can. You'll probably find me for the next several weekends watching football.
Yeah.
You can find me November 2nd. Shut up. You can find me November 2nd in Pittsburgh watching the Titans and the Steelers on Thursday Night Football.
Hey,
if you want to look for me there. But yeah, and guys, I'm glad that we decided to do this, and I hope this makes sense. I hope that we never have to do one of these again. And by that I mean talking about remembering people that have passed away too soon.
Yeah.
So I don't mean that
you.
I don't like you guys. I love you guys, but
I love you too. I echo your sentiment, but I can't believe you're going to be right on that one. So unfortunately, because we know the world of pro wrestling.
If I'm wrong, we bring it back.
That's right. The Malik Willis era is beginning. Is that what's who's era?
It'd be the Will Levis era. And as
Chris,
wise
that is not the
sportsman,
name for a quarterback. Will Levis.
As wise sportsman Gordon Bombay once said, "Ducks fly together." Thank you.
Oh my God.
Ducks fly together.
Tennessee. Oh my God. 7 and 10 year. I can feel it.
It's gonna be 5 at best.
5 and 12.
5 at best, my man.
Well, thank you all so much for joining us here. As I said, as for me, you can follow me at The Rocha Says on Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok. The Outlaw Nation on Twitch. Please remember to subscribe to the channel down below and hit that bell button. Strong Style may be gone, but I will occasionally do watch-alongs of some pay-per-views. I will not be watching All In tomorrow night, but we hope you all enjoy that show and what have you. So look for occasional episodes of Strong Style popping up here on the channel still for sure. But as Aaron said, we hope not to come back under these circumstances in the future, but we might come back for other circumstances. Who knows? We'll see. But until then, you all take care of yourselves. Be well. Hug your loved ones tight. Call them. Give them love. Tell them you care about them. Let them know how important they are in this world. And we will talk to you next time with another brand new episode down the road here of Strong Style. Peace.